you might as well let Aaron Rodgers run the show. He's the only guy in that building that I trust. Forget Joe Douglas, forget Saleh, forget Hackett. Rodgers is the guy. The New York Jets are Aaron Rodgers. While you got him, use him. Let Aaron Rodgers bring in who he wants, or at least at his suggestion. That, to me, is the best recipe for success for the Jets moving forward.
That's nonsense. Listen, I love Aaron Rodgers. Now, I think it's easy to hate on Rodgers, and a lot of people do for different reasons. I really like Aaron Rodgers, and obviously as a Jets fan, I'm really rooting for Aaron Rodgers. I don't give Aaron Rodgers any juice this offseason, zero. I'll take it a step further. This actually really worries me. Like, you know, the old expression, when people show you who they are, believe them. Well, I mean, Aaron Rodgers showed you who he is as a personnel voice last year. We don't need to just rifle through the names. We know who they are. Everybody that the Jets brought in acquiescing to Rodgers was a complete stiff. Now, and I know you can tell me, with Rodgers.
I'm going to, yeah.
With Rodgers.
He wasn't there.
All right, so with Rodgers, maybe they're a little bit better. That doesn't mean Randall Cobb got quicker. That doesn't mean that Alan Lazar got better hands. That doesn't mean that Turner becomes a better blocker. Everything, and I really mean this, everything that the Jets do from now until week one, independent. It sounds insensitive. It sounds callous. I don't care what Aaron Rodgers thinks about the roster. That is not his job at all.
Yeah, but he's the only guy in the building that you trust. And while he's here, wouldn't you want him to be as comfortable as possible? Your whole thing, the New York Jets' whole thing is built around Aaron Rodgers. Let him bring in the guys that he wants. And I do think that they would be better if he had played. And even if they didn't, he wanted them here for a reason, meaning he believes in them. Maybe they could help be an extension of his leadership. Right now, the New York Jets' best chance, their only chance, is with Aaron Rodgers having the ultimate success. Don't you think that him having the ultimate success might have something to do with him bringing in some of his guys?
I do believe that there's something to be said for certainly familiarity, a comfort level. There's no doubt about that. But so you got to look at it this way. Just like, and Jimmy, jeez. I mean, if it happens again, I'm going to just have to tap out and give up. But the way Rodgers went out last year, week one, you've got to build, and this is what's very challenging for the Jets. And quite frankly, this is why I'm terrified about the offseason. Because you have Rodgers, who's he was on some podcast, wants to play 4 years. Okay. How about you get through one?
4 more years.
Give me a break,
my
dude.
God.
He's not playing 4 more years.
I might have to tap out with that. I love Rodgers. I don't know if I can handle it. 4 more years of this? Come on.
Yeah, dude. And I don't think his body can handle this. So Rodgers is not playing 4 more years. So you don't build a team that is going to fit just Rodgers for multiple years in the event that Rodgers goes down again. Everything that the Jets do this offseason's got to be a little bit more macro than micro. It can't be. And this, again, there's 2 things that really worry me about the Jets now. Number one is the Rodgers input. I don't value it nearly as much as Sal does. Number one. Number two, the general manager, who is desperate. And when you're desperate, what do you generally do? You make short-term decisions to save your ass. So right now you got a GM who's hanging by a thread, a quarterback who's going to want to have all sorts of input, which I wouldn't give him. That's not a good recipe for the Jets to do what's best for the Jets. It's not about what's best for Rodgers. It's got to be about what's best for the Jets, which, by the way, happens to intersect on some level what's best for Rodgers.
See, I think what's best for the Jets is to get rid of everybody. I've been saying that since last season. And right now, you have Aaron Rodgers there. He's not going anywhere. Rodgers is making the decisions for this Jets team, or at least has a voice, which is why Joe Douglas is back, which is why Robert Saleh is back. The best interest of the New York Jets football team would be to clean house here and start fresh. Now, that would have been the case. They decided, obviously, not to do that.
Yep.
That means I'm going all in on Aaron Rodgers. They decided to go all in. Well, then go all in. Don't halfway it.
I can't do it.
And if I had to ask you, who do you trust more, Joe Douglas or Aaron Rodgers, what's your answer?
Joe Douglas, obviously.
Honestly,
as a personnel, yes. As a decision maker, I do. Yes.
I mean, Joe Douglas has done exactly nothing in this league. Now, I'm not saying Rodgers needs to be the general manager as well, but I trust Rodgers to know what type of people to bring in to have success more than I do Joe Douglas. Joe Douglas hasn't done it. He's been nothing but a loser as a general manager. Robert Saleh, too, as a head coach. Nathaniel Hackett, the only reason why he's here and has had some success is because Rodgers has vouched for him, winning a couple of MVPs with him.
Yep.
So at least they're kind of together. That's Rodgers' guy.
Yeah, but think about this, Sal. If I was to say to you, and be fair, think before you just blurt out the F, which you might do. What would you give Joe Douglas in totality, grade-wise, as a personnel general manager, what would you give him?
Now, remember, I'm not going based off of the the curve where it's skewed based off of what was here prior.
No, I agree.
Right.
That's smart. No, you can't do that.
I would probably say, if I'm being nice,
C minus?
C plus. I was saying if I'm being nice. So let's say C. Let's sit C in the middle.
Okay. What would you give Rodgers on his? On Rodgers' personnel decisions a year ago?
Well,
that's an F.
It's incomplete.
No, it's not. It's completely complete. Everybody's bored and stunk.
He didn't play. I mean, well, but if we're going based off of last year, everybody, Joe Douglas brought and stung. And Rodgers had 1 year. Joe Douglas been here forever.
I understand that. But at least Joe's hit on some stuff. Literally, Sal, every single decision that Rodgers made was a complete colossal whiff in the personnel department. He's an F.
Well, Aaron Rodgers done more for the Jets. And now, look, the record wasn't there, obviously, but he didn't play. But he's done more to lift the Jets up than Joe Douglas has in 5-6 years. However long he's been here. Rodgers has been here for a minute.
Well, now, hold on. Let's quantify that. I know what you mean. It feels that way. Running out of the tunnel. It was an energy. But let's truly quantify that.
Put the Jets on the map.
And I put them on a map.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm a Rodgers fan. Concretely, let's quantify what Rodgers has done for the Jets. Because my answer is nothing.
He's made them relevant.
So what?
Well, what do you mean, so what? That's
what
a big
does that
deal.
mean?
All the primetime games you were looking forward to. The guy got hurt.
But what does that do for me? What does that do for the fans? It does nothing. You know what helps out? The owner. Makes him a few more bucks. He didn't do anything for the Jets.
You don't think Aaron Rodgers has made, just by him showing up here, has made the Jets a more desirable location?
Well, I mean, I didn't see any good players flocking here last year for team-friendly deals. I saw a bunch of stiffs follow him from Green Bay.
Yeah, well,
who they overpaid for.
But Joe Douglas, Dalvin Cook, is that on Joe Douglas, or did Cook want to be here because of Aaron Rodgers?
But Rodgers said bring him in.
Also, who's helping mold these young players? Garrett Wilson, Hall, all these.
Garrett Wilson was pretty good the year before without Aaron Rodgers. Actually, he was a little bit better.
Yeah, why don't you ask Garrett Wilson what he thinks?
I know that they love him. Don't get me wrong, Sal. I think that a lot of the younger Jets actually borderline revere Rodgers, and I am a big Rodgers fan. But let's not get it twisted. What has Aaron Rodgers done for the Jets? He's done absolutely nothing.
By the way, the worst personnel decisions I think Rodgers has made is agreeing to bring back Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh. Those would be my biggest issues. Forget about Alan Lazard. Who cares about him? He's old, otherwise irrelevant.
It's $11 million, dude. Yeah. I kind of care about that in a cap league.
I still believe he would have been fine with Rodgers there as a third guy. Obviously, Corey Davis goes down.
He retired.
Gets elevated.
Retired.
Yeah, well, whatever, right. And then Lazard gets elevated, and Zach Wilson's the quarterback. What do you expect from the guy? Now, he stunk. I'm not absolving him from the blame, and I'm not saying it was a great move. What I'm saying is this. The Jets are in too deep. They've made their bet, similar to the Giants with Daniel Jones. There's no way out this year. The Jets had no way out with Rodgers, and you know what? He has won a Super Bowl before, multiple MVPs. If you're going to be in bed with a guy, why not a guy who's been as successful as Aaron Rodgers? While you have him, it would help to have his input. Just because last year's moves failed, I would not think that I would not ask Rodgers again this year. I want to make him comfortable, put him in the best position possible to succeed. That's their only chance.
Here's how you make him comfortable. Give an offensive line that doesn't get shoved 3 feet back. Listen, we'll get these calls here. I genuinely think that this Rodgers decision stuff is outlandish. Like, I'm not even willing to, I'll have the conversation, but like for me, and I think I'm fairly flexible. I've changed my mind on a lot of things, one of which was Zach Wilson. I will not change my mind on this. I am inflexible. I am not allowing a guy who's 40, 41, who's on his last legs, who's only thinking about himself and not the Jets to make any sort of decisions. But here's a real life decision for you, all right? And I know you might answer it your way, and me too, but let's answer it the right way. You're sitting down, you're playing blackjack, you're in the hole, you're losing $5,000.
Right.
You're getting crushed. Yeah, everything that the deal, they're banging out king after queen and 20s and 21s and conventionally 5-card 21s. You're busting. Everything is awry. You sitting at that table another hour or two?
No.
Okay, you get up and you leave.
Right.
So that's Aaron Rodgers, his decisions or his input put the Jets in the hole last year. I'm leaving the table. I'm not going to he's not making more decisions for me.
But
you're a quarterback.
It's 1 year. If it doesn't work
it's
after
1 year too much because 1 year can hurt 3, 4, 5 years down the road.
Well, it already has when you made that decision to go get him. The Jets have made their bet, unfortunately, BT. This is it. By the way, Woody Johnson's going to let Aaron Rodgers say he already has. If Rodgers said, Woody, you know what? Joe ain't it and Saleh definitely ain't it. What do you think Woody was going to do? He would have fired him. Rodgers went to them and gave the vote of confidence. Let's run it back with these guys. This is the Aaron Rodgers show. And for better or worse, that's the only decision right now. The other option would have been to get rid of everybody. And they obviously didn't do that.
Well, but the other option is let the quarterback play quarterback, let the general manager and the personnel people draft people. That's the other decision, which I don't know, most NFL teams subscribe to.
BT and Sal on the Fan. Our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Bobby is in Belmore. What's up, Bobby?
Hello, Bobo.
Yeah, hey, what's up? You guys, Sal, I love you, but you're out of your mind. Rodgers is a head general manager, and Douglas, do you realize the garbage this guy has brought in? Lazard couldn't catch any passes, dropped a lot of passes in Green Bay. Cobb was an old man. Hackett, that wasn't LaFleur ran that offense. Yes, I said thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, don't yeah. Anyway, also Boyle, which actually be the worst move. Guy, he wanted him as his buddy. He's a backup quarterback. He threw three touchdowns and 9 interceptions in his career. That's the reason why they get a backup quarterback. Turner, I have no idea, nothing about Turner, but he was garbage.
No, he stinks. That's all you need to know. He's horrendous.
How can you say this guy was?
He didn't play. You can't judge anything on the Jets last year. And thank you for the call, Bobby. You can't judge the Jets on anything last year without Aaron Rodgers. He was the whole plan. Now, you want to say that that's a faulty plan?
I can't double down on that plan because it is a faulty one. I understand why they did it. I'm happy they did it, but now you've got to create a semblance of order and decision making.
And
You've got to reprioritize now.
So to me, I agree with that. I would have said at the end of the year, you know what? It didn't work. Much like the Mets and Steve Cohen did last year at the deadline, saying we went all in with Scherzer, Verlander. Obviously, it's not working.
Yep.
They could have easily kept Verlander and said, you know what? We'll have him start opening day 2024 because we're going to need pitchers anyway. Instead, they said, this ain't it. Investing in old pitchers is not it. And they traded them away and bought prospects. They realized their mistake. The Jets could have done that after this season and said, you know what? We tried it. It was the right thing at the time. It was a mistake. I can't invest in a quarterback again who's over 40 years old coming back and being healthy. And Woody should have realized that and fired Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh and had a fresh, clean start. He didn't. Right now, the best option is to roll with Rodgers.
You know, I think this would be a little bit of a different tone of the conversation, at least from my side of the room, if Aaron Rodgers had some equity here. Like, if Aaron Rodgers was a career Jet, or if Rodgers was here, even if he started with the Packers and came here, 3, 4, 5 years ago, won a ton of games, got to the playoffs, maybe won an MVP, maybe I'd be a little bit more okay with it, but parachuting in. And again, I'm thankful that he wanted to try to save the Jets. I really mean that. I'm sincere. I'm a Rodgers fan, and I do think that he's going to play fairly well this year if they can protect him. But the Jets are in this hole for a multitude of reasons. I'm not going to compound it. Now, the general manager gets one more swing at this thing. If he whiffs, he's gone. Same with the head coach. Gone. Rodgers, show up to OTAs, play football, and let the personnel people make the decisions.
Brian is in Clifton. What's up, Brian?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on. Love the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
I just wanted to ask BT, BT, who's to blame for not bringing in a quarterback after Rodgers got injured? Was that Rodgers? He didn't want anyone coming in?
Well, it's Joe Douglas's ultimate fault because even if Rodgers was like, no, I think Zach's ready, and I'm sure you're implying that on some level, or, you want Zach bombed and got hurt. Oh, yeah, Timmy Boyle's ready. I promise, Joe, you don't have to do anything. Well, then that's Joe Douglas's fault for listening. Joe Douglas must be better at that. Read the room, understand who's available, what he has on the roster, and tune out whatever Aaron Rodgers is saying, and evidently he didn't.
All right, guys, thanks for taking me. I got a suggestion for you guys for another wager for baseball season.
Oh.
Give us a second.
Okay, go ahead. Sure, we're all ears. Like to make bets.
I'm thinking old school Mike and the Mad Dog over unders. Pick 5 teams. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Sal.
And what's the you have a payoff, or you just have the idea?
Payoff?
Well, the payoff, you guys are doing the dress-up thing. I mean, I don't know if you continue with that or not.
I mean, dude, we're not characters in a movie. We get dressed up when we have to. We're not looking for reasons to get dressed up. Jeez. Especially like the two people we got dressed up as.
Oh, God. What are we, clowns? We're talk show hosts here.
Listen, the reality is I'm not a clown. I'm a talk show host on WFAN. I'm not a clown.
It took me a second. I was like, I do realize the irony here saying this as I'm dressed as a clown. Here's the thing. I got an idea. We talked about this last week, and I think we even mentioned on air.
What's that?
We're going to do something similar
to
the Mike and Chris over-unders. We're not going to rip that off exactly. We're going to evolve it.
BT and Southland.
Do it our way. Maybe we'll make it more New York-centric, but we will have certain futures throughout the course of the season. We'll give those the day before opening day on that Wednesday, the 27th, I guess it is.
That'll be 27th, yeah.
You and I will make our picks. We'll have a draft to see which sides we're going to take, just like they used to do it. And we'll have something significant on the line at the end of it.
Can't wait. Nah, it's starting to feel like baseball season. Even though we're yelling about Rodgers and the Jets, it's coming, baby.
You know who else is
See
coming?
Spencer Jones again? A little double the other way.
I saw they demoted him.
Oh, yeah. Well,
or not
young
demoted
man
him. Send him down to minor league camp or whatever it was.
A little seasoning. And if you guys are looking for a good Jones / Anthony Volpe article, there's a good one in the Post today where they were both recruited to Vanderbilt. Jones played there, obviously. Volpe was recruited there from Del Barton. But instead, when the Yankees drafted him in the first round, he bypassed college. And the college coach, I'm forgetting his name right now, at Vanderbilt spoke about the recruiting process of both Jones and Volpe. It was actually a really good article.
Did they talk about Jones' long swing?
No, they talked about his incredible speed.
I've been watching a little bit of it. Seems like he's got a long.
Real long.
I have.
He hasn't swung and missed all spring. Real long. 92 pitches the young kid's seen. He's got a real long swing.
Hey, here's the thing.
A lot of holes in that swing.
You can enjoy. Now, we're going to come back and take your calls on Rodgers and the Jets. I just want to leave you with this before we break. You can enjoy Spencer Jones next year. I'm looking forward to see him in the outfield with the Yankees. You're going to need him.
Yeah, cue up the Juan Soto joke. Is this where you're going?
Soto.
Yeah, okay, Soto.
Soto's coming to Queens, baby.
He's not putting on that blue and orange unless he goes to the Garden to watch a healthy Knicks team win a playoff series, which, by the way, at this rate, I don't know if they're ever going to get healthy. Jeez.
Yeah, I told you.